Happy Easter. Happy Easter. We are created in the image of God. And that means there's a lot of things that we are supposed to be, and a lot of things that have been placed in us that a lot of the time we don't even realize are there. You were created to house hope. Your body was made, your mind, heart, soul, and strength were created to be able to house hope. We want to believe the best, right? The people around us. We want to believe the best about people and about circumstances. Sometimes the world around us stops us from feeling like we can believe the best, but at the core, we have hope and we have dreams and we want to believe the best of the world and the people around us. We crave and we consume stories of redemption. There are stories of hope. We love movies and books and sitcoms that have redemption at their heart. I don't know if you realized you crave redemption. I don't know if you realize that core to the concept of redemption is the concept of forgiveness. You have inside of you a craving to see and experience and offer forgiveness. Whether you realize it or not, it is inside the core of your being. And you consume like crazy things that expose you to that message. Consider the blockbuster hit, The Greatest Showman. Right? Best movie of the last decade, right? Right? Is there anyone that hasn't seen? Yes. Go Devin. Is there anyone that hasn't seen this movie? Oh my goodness. You have spiritual homework. Honor Jesus by this week watching this movie. This is a powerful movie. The music is fantastic. The choreography is amazing. The story is convicting. So in the story of The Greatest Showman, P.T. Barnum grew up in poverty, and he has this hope that one day he won't be stuck in the situation he's in, where rather than going to create clothes for people in these big houses, one day he'll be able to live in one himself. He is a kind of bit of a get-rich-quick guy, and so he begins to come up with schemes to get rich, and one of them, he begins to build a spectacle. He builds a show around some of the most grotesque people, really taking advantage of their struggles and their brokenness to build success. And he builds a circus show made up of some of the most ridiculous people that society has outcast. It becomes more and more successful through his abilities, through the cast, through what is put together. But the success that he gets doesn't fix the insecurities that he's stuck living with. As he gets more success, he starts to neglect his family. He abandons the people that have built this up around him because he goes chasing a singer who can make more money and take him to the world stage and make him more known and more renowned. He leaves his wife behind, chasing this woman around the world. He leaves his friends behind. He abandons his family. In his selfishness, he gives up on everything. And in his selfishness, he loses everything. Toward the end of the story, there's a fallout with Jenny. She leaves. The singer, this beautiful singer, leaves. The circus that built to the success that he has burns to the ground. His wife and his kids leave him. Because why stick with someone who's going to ignore you and chase after other people? There's a powerful scene at the end of the movie where he's sitting in ruins. In despair, he's lost everything that he had. And a song starts singing. And there's this powerful moment in the story where all of a sudden the circus performers start arriving around him, joining in this song. It's a moment of forgiveness. Despite his abandonment of them, they come back to his aid. Philip Carlyle, his right-hand man in building the showmanship that he has been doing, that he walked out on and left in the dirt, comes back and offers his fortune to rebuild what has been built in a spectacular moment of grace and forgiveness. The movie ends with P.T. Barnum at the ballet, sitting next to his wife, finally showing up to the performance that we've seen him miss all the way through the show. We love it because it's a story of rags to riches. It's a story of the outcast being brought into the center. It's a story of success. But then we see ourselves in all of those characters and in the brokenness and in the fall of the story. We see ourselves in that moment sitting alone, having lost everything, wondering how we got to the place that we've got to. And then something stirs in us as we see forgiveness lived out on the screen in front of us, as the people he abandoned come back to him. As the person he betrayed offers him support, as his wife and family take him back in. And something stirs inside of us when we see forgiveness lived out on that level on the screen in front of us. You may not realize it, but at the core of your being is a craving for forgiveness. You want to see it. You want to experience it. And whether you realize it or not, you're desperate to give it. Forgiveness is actually central to love. When we talk about the biblical narrative, where we talk about Father, Son, and Spirit, when we talk about Easter, we're talking about a hope message that's about love, but we often forget that forgiveness is central to love. You're created not just to be able to house hope. You're not just created with a craving for redemption and forgiveness. You're created for a longing for connection. Right? Everyone in the room is longing for intimacy with someone or some people. We feel it when we feel lonely. But did you know that the craving for connection is also a craving for forgiveness? When you want to be fully known, someone has to forgive all of the parts of you that you don't feel are worth knowing. When you're in a relationship with someone else, the ability to have courage and take risks and be vulnerable requires the forgiveness that sometimes we'll get it wrong. Forgiveness is the part of love that gives us confidence that when we make mistakes, everything will turn out all right. We long for connection, and I think the scariest part of the longing for connection is we're unsure if we're going to get the forgiveness that we're so hungry to have. Jesus is love incarnate. He is the love of God made manifest in a human walking around on the earth. He's full of the Spirit of God, the Spirit of love that was poured out into him. So he is God, he is the manifestation of the love of God, and he has the power and love of God poured into him as he walks on the world. Is it any accident that everything he does exudes grace and exudes forgiveness? Let's take a moment and look at the first words that Jesus says as he hangs on the cross, being slowly tortured to death. Luke chapter 23, verse 26. As the soldiers led Jesus away, they seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. Skipping on a few verses to verse 32, 2 other men, both criminals, were also led out with him to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. There are two things about this statement that are just utterly shocking to me. I think they should be shocking to you too. This statement is it's just shocking. There's no other word for it. But there's two things about this statement that are shocking, and we're going to look at them both, one after the other, and hopefully sit in some of the disturbing shock of this statement. So the first shocking part of this statement is the setting. The situation in which Jesus cries out, "Father, forgive them." Let's just say this. First of all, when Jesus says from the cross, "Father, forgive them," who is he talking about? Who is he referring to? Is he talking about the executioners that have put him on the cross? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Is he talking about Pilate and the Roman government who sentenced him to death? The soldiers who are standing next to him, mocking him? Is he praying it over the onlookers? The Sanhedrin, who are the ones that handed him over in the first place? The Jewish nation? Is he looking ahead and praying it over us? Every person that's ever lived, whose sin is responsible for his death on the cross? Hanging on the cross, crying out, "Father, forgive them, forgive them." Who is he praying for? I imagine he's praying for all of those people, and for you, and for me. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. It's interesting. There are 7 statements that Jesus makes from the cross. They all have something in the context that says Jesus said, Jesus cried out, and then gives a statement. Every time a statement is given by Jesus from the cross, in Greek, we use the past tense. It's called the aorist. And that means it's an event that happened in the past, and it happened and was completed and is done and is finished, like kind of a one-time thing, and it happened. This is the only statement from the cross that breaks that pattern. And they use the imperfect tense here to say Jesus said. Now, what's the imperfect tense mean? It means something that happened in the past that was continuous or repetitive or incomplete. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The writer could be using the imperfect tense here to say the work is incomplete, right? Father, forgive them. The work's not, I can offer forgiveness, I can pray for forgiveness, but the forgiveness can't come until someone accepts it. So I can pray the prayer, but it's incomplete until you take what is offered and apply it to your own story. It could be that it's imperfect because what he's saying is in the moment that the words are coming out of his mouth, the action is incomplete, and he's looking ahead to the moment where people accept that forgiveness and then are free from the guilt and the complicity in the work of the cross. It could be. The more common way that the imperfect tense is used is a repeated, continuous activity. We read this, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing." The Greek, we could argue, is actually saying Jesus is on the cross going, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Can you imagine the 2 criminals on either side crying out, moaning, groaning in pain, while all Jesus does, "Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." I wonder if he had different people going through his mind as he cried those words out. He pictures Pilate, "Father, forgive them." He pictures the Jewish people, "Father, forgive them." I wonder if he's looking at the past and the people that have lived before him, "Father, forgive them." I wonder if your face went through his head. I wonder if he got a vision of the American church and said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." The setting is crazy. Do you remember the events that have led up to this point of Jesus crying out these words? Remember what's happened so far. Think about the painful emotions that he would be experiencing, right? He came to his people and they rejected him. His own people, the Jewish nation, rejected their Messiah. He was betrayed by Judas, one of the 12 people that he had invested all of his time in. This guy turned around and backstabbed him. Think for a moment what your internal reaction is when you've just found out someone's done some backstabbing to you. Are you like filled with joy and kindness and grace toward them? He's taken before the high priest and he's asked some questions and he answers and someone says, "How dare you talk to him that way?" and slaps him in the face. How would you feel if you were just trying to have a conversation and get some understanding? The person in front of you just slapped you plain across the face and accused you of insulting the person in front of you. He was bound. Accusations were hurled against him. He was flogged. That word is so easy to say and so hard to imagine. Whipped repeatedly. Shrapnel on the ends that are ripping his flesh apart. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They mock him by putting a crown of thorns on his head, placing a staff in his hands. They spit on him. They steal the staff from his hand and beat him around the head. How many of you would offer kind grace if someone took a baseball bat and started swinging multiple times for your head? Then to add insult to injury, when he's beaten to that point, they take the cross that he's supposed to die on and they force him to carry it. He's so worn down, they have to get a stranger to come and carry it on his behalf. And then they bring him to the place. They strip him naked. And they nail him to the cross. I wonder if the imperfect tense was not referring to just this one moment of hanging on the cross, but I wonder if it was the repeated refrain. From the day he arrived on the earth, and the first day he experienced rejection, Father, forgive them. I wonder if it's as Judas betrays him, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. I wonder if someone slapped him on the face, he cried out, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. As they stripped him, as they put the crown on his head, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. So that by the time he's on the cross, the mantra is already set in. And they hang him up there for his slow death to begin. And he repeats the same thing. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Not the sorts of ways we respond. We're good at holding grudges. We're good at the silent treatment, the stonewalling, the slandering. I like to think, you stub your toe. What's the first word or phrase that comes out your mouth? Glory to God in the highest and peace to his people on earth. I'm thinking about the person that made the chair. Father, forgive them, for they knew not what they were doing. When we feel hurt, when we feel betrayed, we avoid people. We ghost them, just stop replying. It's shocking that facing what Jesus faced, that the first words on the cross would be, Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. Why is it shocking? Because it's so far from what would be in our hearts. Can you picture Jesus just crying that out continually through his whole journey? Why can he do it? Because he's the embodiment of love. And forgiveness is central to love. There's a deep relationship all through Scripture between love and forgiveness. Here's a simple diagram. Love and forgiveness, right? Proverbs 10:12. What does it say? Love covers over a multitude of sins. Love offers forgiveness. What does Luke 7:47 do? The woman committing adultery. He is without sin, throw the first stone. And then Jesus looks and says, the one who's forgiven little loves little. Implied, the one who's forgiven much loves much. When we're forgiven much, we love much. When we love much, we forgive much. It's the cycle of love. We want to be loved. Love initiates forgiveness. Love invites forgiveness, and love is increased by offering forgiveness. We desperately want to be back in the pattern of Eden, where nothing is hidden, where we're known fully, and there's no fear because we're perfectly accepted. We long to take risks and to be vulnerable and never have to fear failure or fear rejection. Forgiveness is the thing that lets us have the confidence and the hope that that's what we will experience. Most often, forgiveness needs to be mediated to us through a person. We can hear that God loves us. We can hear that God's forgiven us, but so often it's not until someone in front of us hears our story and speaks love and grace and forgiveness over us. It's not until that moment that our hearts are cracked open enough to truly receive the love and the forgiveness that's been offered to us. This is Pete Dowse. Pete Dowse is the man that made this real for me. I think many of you might have a story of someone that helped make forgiveness real to you. Or if not, there may be people in the room, you realize you're longing for someone like Pete to offer this to you. I was in a season of my life where I was very, very low. My life had fallen apart. My sin, all the brokenness of my life, all the bad choices that I had made had come to the front. I've told you before, I was a master of hiding behind the appearance of perfection and success and keeping the broken part of me away. And it had all come to the forefront. My brokenness exposed, my junk on the table for everybody to see, my friends questioning who I was, people walking away from me, feeling cut off from community, alone, questioning my worth, my relationship to God, the truths of Scripture, my calling to ministry, questioning it all in a place of despair. And I met Pete. And Pete listened to my story and essentially said, come and be where I am. I see who God's made you to be. I see the calling that's on your life. I see the hurt that's been caused to you in the past. I see the hurt that's been caused to you in the situation that you're currently in. But I believe in a God of grace and of healing and of forgiveness. And I believe that those things qualify you to minister in the kingdom of God rather than disqualify you. Because when God takes what is broken, puts his hand upon it, it becomes the very place where he can show his glory most fully. Pete spoke words of healing, words of forgiveness into my life that have forever changed who I am. I moved to be close to him, to be around a person that walks like Jesus in that way. Sadly, shortly after I moved, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. Within a year, Pete was gone. But I've never forgotten what he offered me in being a place of forgiveness that mirrored the heart of God to me in a way that I'd never seen before, that resonated with a longing that had been inside me from the day I was born that had been left unfulfilled. We are created to crave forgiveness. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Shock number 2 in this moment is the rationale Jesus gives for his prayer for forgiveness. They don't know what they're doing? What do you mean? The Bible tells us Pilate said, this is an innocent man. And they say, well, we want him dead. Okay, let's wash our hands of that one. He knew what he was doing, right? He was innocent. The executioners, they've seen the story. They've heard the story. They've seen what Jesus have done. They know they're killing him. They know what they're doing. Is it that they don't know what they're doing? Is that really what it is? Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. Is he trying to say they don't know who I am? They don't know what's really going on. If they really understood who I was, they wouldn't let this happen. Is that what he's saying? I don't think so. He's made it very clear who he is. Many people have accepted him, but some reject, many reject. Is he referring to a deeper principle? And if he is, it's shocking. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Sociologist and popular writer Brené Brown puts it this way. I still find this statement shocking. People are doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. Father, forgive them, for they're doing the best they can with the tools at their disposal. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The brokenness of people, the circumstances we're in, the stresses of our life, the knowledge that's been given to us or withheld from us, the traumas we experience, all contribute to the decisions that we make. I think, if we're honest, people in general want to be good and want to do good. I think most of the people we're around, if we ask them, they want to do good. They want to be good people. I think it's rare that we encounter someone that from birth is pathological and just wants to harm. And normally when we encounter someone that's pathological, we tend to say, let's look at all the trauma from their childhood that put them in this horrible situation. The tools that they were given them were insufficient to be able to live any differently. Is it just me, or any of you, have you found yourself in situations where you've made stupid decisions and you say, I should have known better? If I could go back in time with the knowledge that I now possess, I would make a different decision, right? That's hope and that's learning. But you know what's implied in that? I didn't have this knowledge in that moment. So if I went back in time without what I know now, I would probably make the same mistake because it's only now that I've learned. People are doing the best they can with the tools that they have. The people that have hurt you, believe it or not, they were doing the best they could with the tools that they have. When you hurt other people, you are doing often the best that you can with the tools that you have. It's not an excuse to do wrong. Oh, I can hurt people because I don't have the best tools. But it is a reminder that we are utterly powerless to fix our situation. Because doing the best we can with the tools at our disposal, we hurt people, we break people, we make mistakes, we damage ourselves. People are doing the best they can with the tools that they have. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Paul describes it this way, right? Back to the Bible. Why are we harping on about sociologists? Let's go back to the Bible. Paul, I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil that I don't want to do, this I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it's no longer I who do it, but sin living in me that does it. Paul, reflecting on his inability to do the good that he longs to do, brought him to a principle. There is some other force inside of my body that causes me to go against the good that I know I should do. We all desire to do good. Let's have an honest moment. Is there anyone in the room that has no desire to do good? You just want to do evil all the time? This is a safe place. You can put up your hand. We all desire good, right? We desire intimacy and connection and purpose and contribution. We all want to make the world a better place, become better people, treat our families and our friends better. but we constantly run up against something inside of us that gets in the way. Sin, flesh, fallenness, that despite my best attempts, I continue to get it wrong. Let's go back to P.T. Barnum in The Greatest Showman. Abandoning his family, betraying his friends, making it all about him in the pursuit of success. Poverty, growing up in lack, deep insecurity about his value, being ridiculed by wealthy people for being poor, having dreams that he never thought would become a reality, having to surround himself with social misfits to feel like he could have value. He was doing the best he could with the tools that he had. He was doing the only thing he knew how to do, and that was to perform and try and be successful by performing. But the tools were not good enough. They never will be. What shifted in him? Everything came crashing down. And with it all laying in tatters around him, self-realization was granted. He realized he couldn't do it alone. He realized he'd come to the end of his resources. And in that place, he encountered the supernatural power of forgiveness mediated through people to bring him hope and restoration. We need supernatural empowerment to give us self-realization and supernatural forgiveness to help us walk forward in a different way. Here's the troubling thing for us this morning. We are far worse than we think we are when it comes to sin and brokenness and trying to follow Jesus. We are far worse than we think we are. And we need Jesus far more than we think we do. We are far worse than we think we are, and we need Jesus far more than we think we do. The tools that we have are not working. They're not fixing our brokenness. They're not helping us do the good that we want to do. We need the supernatural resurrection power of Jesus poured into our being. We need a source that can be inside of our body, that can overcome the power of the flesh, that can overcome the ruts in our thinking that have got us where we are. We need a force, a power source inside of us that can bring supernatural self-revelation to show us how broken we are and how much help we need. I want you to think about your brokenness for a moment. It's likely that some things have already come into your mind, but here's some little self-assessment questions to think through. In what ways have I used people for my own benefit, emotionally, sexually, socially, or otherwise? Who have I wronged or hurt, even unintentionally, by my words, my silence, my actions? What bitterness, envy, or pride do I hold toward anyone in my life? What do I think or fantasize about when no one is watching? What am I hiding from the people around me instead of living boldly in truth and vulnerability? Where do I ignore God's voice and the clear instructions that I have heard and I know and I've read because it threatens my comfort or my sense of control? We have a group of pastors that meet once a month in person, off months on Zoom, exploring revival and awakening and the history of the move of God. And last Wednesday, as we gathered together, Kirk Peterson, who leads Alpha in this part of the U.S., was sharing something that impacted him when he was younger. It was a sermon by Charles Finney. And in this sermon, Charles Finney starts talking about the vice of vanity and the ways that we are vain today. And this is just one other self-assessment piece to think through. You don't realize how vain you are until you answer this question. So let's just think about getting ready for church today. What would you have done differently if you knew every single person in the world was blind? What choices would you have made differently today in what you'd wore, how you styled your hair, what car you drive, what your house looks like, what job you have? How would it be different if everybody was blind? I was like, I'm so vain, right? We are far worse than we think we are, which means we need Jesus far more than we think we do. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Throughout your life, Jesus has been praying this statement over you. If it was a mantra when he was here on the earth, if it's the outflowing of his character, then he continues to pray it right now at the right hand of the Father. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Jesus wants to forgive, right? His heart is generous. He's not like, I'm not going to forgive this person. I'm not going to forgive that issue in your life. Like, he wants to forgive. He longs to forgive. He wants to say yes to every request that you make for intimacy with him and holiness of living. He wants to forgive. The problem is, so often we think we're doing okay, so we stop asking for the forgiveness that he offers. Today is an opportunity to receive again the forgiveness that he offers us and to celebrate the magnitude of the forgiveness that was earned for us through the work that he did on the cross and the power that was made available to us by his resurrection from the dead. His love for you is beyond what you can ever imagine. He has seen everything you have ever done wrong. He knows every lie, every deliberate decision to hurt, every manipulation. He sees them all. And yet he delights in you with all of that brokenness there. And daily he offers us his forgiveness and says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. As we wrap up, I want to invite us today, two invitations really. Let's start by closing our eyes. Well, why do we do this? Some people are like, why do I have to close my eyes? Because sometimes it makes other people in the room feel safer. So we're going to close our eyes as a gift to other people in the room, to let them feel safe for a moment. You may be in the room and you are not walking with Jesus. You've never said, Jesus, I want to surrender my life fully to you. You've never realized the extent of your sin and your powerlessness to overcome it. And as I've been talking and as worship has been happening, you've been thinking, wow, I want that for me. Jesus is saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. All you have to say is, Jesus, I want that forgiveness. I'm more broken than I ever realized, and I need you more than I ever knew. I submit my life to you. If that's you today, and you want to say to Jesus, I want to be yours for the first time ever, you just put your hand up. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. And for the rest of us in the room who know Jesus, Easter is a time to re-receive and re-celebrate the forgiveness that's been offered. So I want to invite you to assess your life and then respond in the same way. If you're here and you're saying, Jesus, I'm more broken than I ever knew, and I need you more than I ever thought, and I want your forgiveness, then just put your hand up and say, Jesus, I want this again. I want a fresh outpouring of forgiveness. I want fresh revelation of who you are. I want to go deeper. I want more freedom. I want more power. I want to look more like you. Father, forgive us, for we know not what we do. God, thank you for the gift of forgiveness. Thank you for Easter. Thank you that you were raised from the dead. Thank you that you're seated at the right hand of the Father. Thank you that you did what you did. You suffered what you suffered, that we would be set free. Thank you for life in you. Thank you for life in abundance. Thank you for victory over darkness, victory over the flesh. And thank you for hope, that we're not stuck where we are, but we can live different through the power and the presence of Jesus. So God, as we worship, may we celebrate your forgiveness. May we celebrate your love. May we celebrate your victory. And may we take it to the world.